if we don't pick up that baton, pick up that torch to represent and fight on behalf of our community, on behalf of our country, we have basically let our ancestors down.
And you know what? They are looking for us right now to pick up that torch.
Greetings, my posse. Welcome to the Roundup with Rodney and Rodney. This is Rodney Littles.
And I'm Rodney Butler. Hey, Rodney, man, look, we made it to February. We made it to Black History Month.
Yes,
but also
sir.
with February came the Super Bowl. What you thought about it, man? The halftime show in particular.
Well, first of all, I think my frat brother Jalen Hurts, he got his reprieve because they've been saying he ain't really ready for the big time. So I'm happy about that. And on the halftime show, let me tell you, that brother's a poet, but he's a resistant poet. What I remember the most about what he had to say was more about reparations. 40 acres and a mule he started with.
He did.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out with me right from the beginning is, first of all, the unapologetic blackness of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the pushback saying that was really black. When do we ever say that was something was really white? It's just so crazy to me. But anyway, but to have those, to make out that flag, that United States flag,
yes, that was beautiful.
With the first thing I noticed is that the dancers were kind of, their neck was kind of bent to the ground. And to me, what that signified is, that we've carried this country on our back, and that's what that flag.
Mm-hmm.
It was just
Yes.
brilliant. The guy's a brilliant poet, and so 37 years old. So, but anyway, Rodney, I know we got I don't want to waste too much time tonight because I know we got an outstanding special guest on tonight. But I also think since our second season, I think this is the first time that we've had Mr. Fryer to come on, and he's been busy and he's used to do our politics corner, which we now better known as now, Rodney?
Well, let's welcome Bobby Fryer from the Black Man's Roundtable with the Find Out Phase.
The Find Out Phase, because we already upped around. On November the 5th.
That's
so
right.
Bobby each week is every 2 weeks is going to tell you what we find out now that we've upped around. So Bobby, welcome to your new segment, man.
Man, thank you, fellas. I feel great. Thank you for that intro. Feeling good. This has been an interesting 2025, and I apologize for missing the last couple of opportunities to come on. Had some extreme circumstances.
Exactly.
We actually were out of power last time. So and it was my son's birthday. So we actually went out to eat. We still didn't have no power on until later on that evening. But I'm here.
Amen.
You're here.
Welcome,
Yes.
man.
Happy New Year. Welcome back.
Thank you, brother.
Year.
Happy New Year to you also. Happy New Year. So what I want to get into today before we move on is the 14th Amendment, which has been a hot topic lately. And specifically concerning birthright citizenship. So let me just backtrack a little bit and tell everybody there's 5 sections to the 14th Amendment. Breaking it down real quick, we've got birthright citizenship, state action and apportionment, disqualification for rebellion, debt, and the enforcement clause. So the one thing we're going to focus on is section 1, which is about birthright citizenship. I wanted to make this point about this. So for those that don't know, I'm going to read it, what the 14th Amendment actually says. Section 1 says, a person born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, that's an important section right there, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Now, at issue with these Trump lawyers that he has in place is specific regarding the parts that says subject to the jurisdiction thereof. It means that a person is completely under the legal authority of a particular government, implying that they owe full allegiance to that government and are subject to its laws, with key exceptions like children of foreign diplomats who are not considered subject to the jurisdiction, even if born within the country's territory. This phrase is most commonly found in the 14th Amendment regarding birthright citizenship. So I just read you the AI version of that. So one example of that, for example, is if you have someone that is a foreign diplomat representing the United States, and if you are born outside of the United States, you're still considered an American citizen. If you're born on a military fort outside of the United States, you're still considered an American citizen. Right. So one of the things that I have in question is, since they're making an issue of this, since you want to try to parse this down into your own definition of who's really an American citizen, who's not, I have a question. Donald Trump's mother was not born in the United States. She was born in the UK. All right. So what does that make him? The second part of it, when you start divvying it up like that, his first wife, she was not born in the United States. So what does that make his children, with the exception of Tiffany? And then also, what does that make Barron with his current wife now, Melania? Yep. So when we start, you notice the contradiction that always seems to occur when these things come out. And so I would question, if you're going to question birthright citizenship, you got to question yourself being a American citizen, if that's what you're going to do. You got to question your children, with the exception of one whose mother was American. All right, talking about Marla Maples. Mm-hmm. So what does that make him? What does that make his siblings? What does that make his children? There's a whole lot that can be questioned if you're gonna make that argument. So just be careful. Be careful when you start down this road of trying to determine who's an American citizen, who's not. Notice, it's an issue with him now. That wasn't an issue in 2008 when John McCain was running for president against Barack Obama. John McCain was not born on American soil. Right. He was born on a military base. Okay. We didn't have any issue with it then. All right. But now it's just funny how these things come up and we have a total contradiction, total hypocrisy on determining who can stay here and who can't. All right. That's what's at issue right now. So when you start parsing birthright citizenship into your own definition of defining it, and by the way, the United States was formed out of a bunch of immigrants. Okay. The people that were already here, establishing land here, you took it. So all these people that try to get into this nonsense about who's quote unquote really an American and who's not and who needs to go back, just remember that this whole country was started by a border invasion. That's a fact.
That's hot.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, man. I think that they are opening up, Rodney. I think that they are opening up Pandora's box and yes, going down a rabbit hole that they won't be able to come back out of. But but I'm so glad. I'm almost sure the other day that I heard Donald Trump actually say that the birthright citizenship came about because of enslaved people, right? So he won't be able to go back on that, right? So he just secured, black folks, because I know a lot of black people was concerned and worried about, I wonder how's this going to affect us. He said out of his own mouth, because he's right. He actually told the truth. I'm sure somebody whispered in his ear or something that, that whole, why the whole, cause of birthright citizenship came about. But at the end of the day, like you're saying, Bobby, I think that it's a distraction as well. And that's why, I just want to take this opportunity to say to all of our followers and all our listeners that, all of these, what do you call the things he's signing? The
executive orders.
The executive orders. All of these executive orders that he's signing, I would tell people, don't pay so much attention to that. That stuff is really, it is almost cosmetic more than anything else. But he's very good at making you look wagging the dog. You know what I'm saying? And putting out red herrings, right? Yep. He's very good at that. So what I'm saying is pay attention to other stuff and not all of this commotion and confusion that he's trying to, throw out there. The man is a true grifter, and he knows how to con people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hey,
done.
that sums it up.
yeah,
That sums it
You,
up.
Bobby.
but I appreciate it, Bobby. We appreciate you, man. As always, you get us woke up, you get us fired up, to bring on the guests, man. So yeah, we appreciate
Well, you got a great guest. You got a great guest coming. So, gentlemen, I appreciate the time as always, and I know you got a great show. So, I
All right,
appreciate it.
Bobby. Have
See
a good week.
you in a couple of weeks, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right,
Yep.
man.
Yep.
Well, we have William K. Boddie Jr., Esquire, the founder of the law firm of Boddie and Associates, LLC, which specializes in personal injury and criminal defense law. William was the 2022 Democratic nominee for Georgia Labor Commissioner. He was first elected to the Georgia House of Representatives in November 2016 and sworn in on January 9th, 2017. He served the Georgia House District 62, which included portions of South Fulton County and East Douglas County. His Georgia House Democratic Caucus colleagues elected him to serve as the minority whip in November 2018. William was the second-ranking Democrat in the Georgia House of Representatives after serving one term in the Georgia General Assembly. Previously to being elected to the caucus leadership position, William was appointed to serve as the communications chair of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus in 2017. Welcome, Brother Boddie.
It's an honor to be here, Rodney. It's
Well, we don't have any more time for the show now. I mean, that bio is so long. No, I'm just playing. Welcome, brother.
No, thank you. Thank you all for having me.
Yes, sir.
You all do some amazing work and letting our community know what's going on at the local, state, and even federal level. I got a chance to hear my great fraternity brother, Robert Fire, give the message and fire everybody up for the night.
Yep.
So it's just an honor to be here. So thank y'all for having me.
Oh,
Yes,
man,
sir.
our pleasure. So tell us a little bit about who you are. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? What motivated you to get the education you did and to run for public office?
So, well, right now I would say this, and I would say Brother Littles. I would say this. I was born and raised right here in Atlanta. Grew up in Southwest Atlanta, and then moved when I was in fifth grade to South Fulton. And so at the time, and Rodney know a lot about this, it was unincorporated South Fulton. Graduated from Banneker High School in 1995 in South Fulton, went to Valdosta State University and majored in criminal justice because I wanted to be a lawyer. And I thought that was the path, but not knowing that you could major anything to go to law school. But then I ended up going to law school in Michigan and got tired of the cold and got tired of the snow. And so I decided to come back to Georgia, to Mercer, Walter F. George School of Law in Macon, and graduated and went on to sit for the bar, passed the bar, and started out as a public defender for 3 years, from 2005 to 2008 in Fulton County Public Defender's Office. One of the best on-the-job trainings you can have as a trial lawyer. And then I decided in 2008 I wanted to open up my own law firm because I wanted to practice criminal defense law and personal injury automobile accident law as well. So
Good market for that.
yeah, exactly. So just enjoy now practicing. In November, be 20 years.
All right.
And being a member of the Georgia State Bar.
Excellent,
So,
excellent.
so on the legal end, that's kind of how I immersed myself in the practice of law. But what sparked my interest was Johnny Cochran. I mean, every night on the news back in the 90s, you couldn't go without seeing the nightly news and Johnny Cochran having some segment and somebody he's representing. And so I got a chance to see one segment where he was giving a closing argument. And I was like, man, I don't know how he's doing it, but I want to do that. I want to be a lawyer because I want to do what Johnny Cochran is doing.
All right.
Yeah, and from that, I started to see him like at the Emmys, the Academy Awards, and he was doing all these legal shows. So I was like, I want to be a lawyer, and that's kind of how I built I would say my game plan for the life I want to live. And
Okay.
from college to law school to where I want to practice and what I want to practice, I kind of built that off of that one image
I
of
love it.
Cochran from high school. So that's how I
Excellent.
got interested in the practice of law.
Excellent. Excellent.
Good
Excellent.
stuff.
Excellent.
Good stuff.
So now, who influenced you to look at politics? Being a lawyer and having your own practice, you're an entrepreneur. You're a businessman. You got to pay the bills, take care of the rent, staff. So, what interests you in going into politics, elected office at that?
It's funny that you said it because Brother Rodney Littles and Brother Rodney, you probably know this or may not know this, was one of my constituents when I served in the
Mm-hmm.
Georgia House, and I was representing Georgia House District 62.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the opportunity to be a part of a lot of organizations, such as Let Us Make Man, with my dear friend, Brother Derek Bozeman, and also Brother Miley Davis, and Pastor Derek Rice, and attorney Chris Leopold, and so many different brothers. Part of that organization since 2009, where we really reach out and reach out to our young Black men to try to tell them, these are the avenues of life that you should probably look at, and some of the potholes and issues that you will have if you get caught in the wrong situations. And so that kind of got me going because I was so immersed with Let Us Make Man and moving around the state, and really working with Brother Derek Bozeman, who was former city councilman in Atlanta.
Okay.
That's right.
But when my dear friend LaDon Blackie Jones, back in March of 2015, who was the current state representative for District 62, stated that she wasn't going to run again, and I met her when I was a public defender, she was in the DA's office. I
Right.
was like, hold on, she's representing South Fulton where I grew up. I need to reach out to LaDon. And she had been very active in her district for the 4 years she represented House District 62. And she was a dear friend. So I reached out to her and said, I'm interested in running because I was already serving the community in so many different capacities.
Mm-hmm.
I figured that if I entered the world of politics, I could help my community even more
Mm-hmm.
and be able to represent the community in which I grew up. And I went to high school to middle school. I mean, it was a no-brainer for me. So I enjoyed my time in the Georgia House of Representatives, and politics has been another means for me to serve my community and serve my state, and just be able to be a benefit to the community by just protecting our community against bad legislation and bad public policy,
Yeah.
but also pushing and supporting and writing good legislation that actually
Right.
helps our community.
Right. Excellent. 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 Wow. Well, the time that you were in the state house, you moved real quickly into volunteering to take some responsibility on. What prompted you to want to do that so soon?
It's funny you say that, Brother Littles. I would say this. When you walk into the Georgia House of Representatives or the Georgia General Assembly, with some state, and of course the Georgia Senate, if you on that side of
Mm-hmm.
the Capitol, as a lawyer, legislator, you walk in with political capital that you could lose if you don't covet that political capital, which most freshmen don't get.
Gotcha.
When I walked into the Georgia House, I had members ask me about everything from divorces to child support to landlord tenant law. I'm like, look,
Right.
I don't practice that area of the law, but I know someone that could probably help you. But also looking at the bills and breaking down the bills as well to figure out, okay, what does this line mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is this something going to help the constituency in my
Mm-hmm.
district
Mm-hmm.
and the citizens of this state, or is it going to be something that hurt
Right.
the state and the citizens in our state here, the state of Georgia? So I was able to break down bills and help
Right.
members to be able to decipher what was good, what was bad. And
Hmm.
so that gave me an instant level of credibility. And also, kept my powder dry. I just
Right.
didn't go making commitments that I knew I was not going to be able to live up to. I didn't overcommit myself with my caucus or with the other side of the aisle. And I always kept, tunnel vision on I'm here to help my district and help the citizens in my district. So I would say just being a lawyer legislator kind of fast tracked me to leadership. And
Hmm.
so and I'll tell you a quick story that kind of got me on that path to leadership during my first term. If you all remember the city of Eagles Landing
Oh,
legislation,
yes.
so I never forget. I had a dear friend from high school,
Hmm.
my class 95 at Bannock High School. She lived at the time in Stockbridge,
Okay.
and she came to the Capitol. It's like day 38, and Rodney, from your days of being, you
Ooh,
know,
that's the end.
assistant, that was hot and heavy.
Yes.
But this bill was, dealing with an area of Stockbridge that uh, was, I would say, affluent, had great
Hmm.
resources,
Hmm.
uh, great property, uh, 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 amenities and parcels of land and businesses that were booming. And this particular Republican delegation in Henry County wanted to come and take literally that land that was majority African American residents and just basically take the golf course, which is Eagles Landing, and make it into a city. But they were going to leave that community with a depleted tax base,
Right.
and it was going to gut that city. And basically, they were cherry picking, taking the parts of that
Yeah.
particular city that they wanted and the
Hmm.
parts they didn't want. And this had never happened in Georgia history. Normally, of course, Rodney was one of the leaders of the city of South Fulton in the creation of that amazing city of over 100,000 residents. But Rodney and the citizens, concerned citizens, wanted to actually have and build and organize and format their own city and to build their own city. But in this particular case, they were just going to go in and annex
And
the
take a
city,
big piece out
just
of what
take a
was
big
already
chunk
exist. Yeah.
out of that city to create
Yeah.
another city and leave the residents of the current city at a economic disadvantage.
Right.
So what I did is I was a part of the South Fulton delegation, the full delegation, Douglas County, because those are the counties that are represented. And also I was part of the City of Atlanta delegation as well as East Point, which
Hmm.
where I lived at the time and where I live now. But what I did after my classmate came and said, William Boddie, I need you to do something. And she just came up to the Capitol. She didn't know who to talk to.
Right.
She wasn't into politics. She just saw a wrong. And she wanted to right a wrong because she was a property owner in that community.
Hmm.
And she said, can you just go and say something? And and I was like, well, my classmate name is Felicia. I was like, Felicia, I'm not a part of the Henry County delegation. She's like, I understand it, but I need you to say something. Just say something before the Georgia House of Representatives. And so I signed up, and I didn't tell the Henry County delegation I should have, but I'm a freshman. So I
Hmm.
went to the well and I talked about it, and it just kind of, caught everyone by storm. And that that well speech that I made that night in the Georgia House of Representatives put me on the pathway to becoming the House Minority Leader, or some would call not the House Minority Whip.
But
Some would call the House Democratic Whip, which is the
right.
second ranking Democrat in the Georgia House of Representatives. And I was one of few freshmen to be elected to that position. I
Can
think at
imagine.
the time The only other freshman to be elected to leadership after one term was, I believe, Leader Stacey Abrams. So I was saying, I felt pretty good about where I was at that time, and now my predecessor, Representative Tanya Miller, who now represents House District 62, she was elected as the House Democratic Caucus chair, and
Yep.
so she's in leadership now, and so I feel good about House District 62 keeping that leadership as a freshman and being a respected member of our caucus alive.
Well, I appreciate the fact that when you decided to tip, that you did leave her in the seat so that she was representing me. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But so let's take it one step further in terms of the helping people understand what it's like to be in the minority. When I say the minority, you didn't have enough votes to stop a bill or to pass a bill unless it was a referendum that required 2/3, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what was life like that? What was life like?
It's where we are right now, and of course, I'm a lifelong Democrat and proud of it. But it's where we are right now in this country, with the GOP, the Republicans having both the White House and the U.S. Senate, the U.S. House, and also the judicial branch as well in the U.S. Supreme Court. When you're are in the minority, you're in the opposition party. You're always opposing bad legislation that can harm your community and harm the citizens of the state of Georgia. And so, being that you don't have the number advantage, and so you don't have the numerical majority, you have to fight with other measures. You fight in the media. You fight with press conferences. You fight by letting your constituency know what's going on at the state capitol and getting them down to the state capitol for a day of action or days of actions. You message through social media. You message through podcasts. You message through the news media. You put everything up against the majority party to let them know that you're not going to be rolled over, and your party is not going to be rolled over, and you're not going to do wrong by the citizens of the state of Georgia, and no one knows about it. And so you also fight with, I would say, legislative maneuvers. You got a bill in committee, and everyone knows, Schoolhouse Rock. You got a bill in the committee, and it's a bad bill. You're doing everything you can to slow that bill down, but also you're trying to basically dismantle that bill as well, as far as getting as much as the bad parts of what we call the poison pill out of the bill to make it a decent bill, not a great bill, that when it hits the House floor, you pretty much have neutralized most of the bad things that can hurt workers and hurt minorities and hurt everyday Georgians out of the bill and hurt our students as well. So you're always looking at ways to make a bad bill just a little bit better if you can't completely stop the bill during the legislative process. And that is a big part of what you do as a minority member of any legislative branch, either local level, which would be your city council or your county commission or your school board or state house, state senate, or when you go up to the federal level in U.S. Congress or U.S. Senate. You do everything you can to stop bad bills. But if you find a bill where you can reach across the aisle to work with the other party, and it's a bill that's actually going to help and benefit and actually protect rights and actually raise wages, actually helps the everyday working families here in the state, you do that. But if it doesn't help, you oppose at every stop that you possibly can.
Wow. So if you have a good bill that would help everybody in the minority, can you get that passed?
You can, but it's going to take a lot of legislative savviness to do it.
Hmm.
Being that you're in the minority party, when I was in the state house, I served 6 years, 3 terms. I was able to pass 27 bills, either as a sponsor or co-sponsor, which is a co-signer of the legislation, in 6 years. So I passed 27 bills in 6 years as a Democrat, which is almost unheard of being in the minority party. But when your colleagues in your own caucus respect you and they look to you for leadership and advice, and they trust you, you can get a lot done because that's the same position that I took with my caucus as well as the Republican caucus as well. They knew that if it was a bad bill, I'm going to the well and I'm going to try to light it up. I'm going to let the state of Georgia know it's a bad bill. But they
Right.
also knew I was going to work with them if it was a bill that actually helped the citizens of the state and not hurt someone. So just by gaining that respect and that trust, I was
Hmm.
able to get a lot done in a short amount of time as a member of the Democratic Party in
Right.
the minority in the state house.
Well, when you say minority, you talk about Democrat versus Republican, but most of our viewers, when you say minority, you think about somebody black.
Exactly.
So tell me about how they've racialized politics in Georgia, in that the majority of the Democratic conference on both sides of the of the dome look like you and I.
Absolutely. Yeah, currently right now, it's no African American that's in the Republican Party in the House or the Senate. It was one uh, member of the Republican Party that was in the House, but she originally started out as a Democrat and what we call flip to the other party, which is the Republican Party, and she lost her campaign for reelection back in November 2024. So I would say in the state of Georgia, as far as at the state capitol, and I'm just talking about state capitol,
Hmm.
most of the African American members of the House and the Senate are Democrats. It's just where we are in the state. It's where it's pretty much always been since I started serving back in 2017.
Hmm.
I was told it was one or two, maybe three members of the House that were Republicans. But if you look at the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, right now, I think the Black Caucus is probably 75 members, maybe even 80, close to 80 that are African American senators and state representatives. And I think right now they have the largest number of um, members of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus since the Black Caucus was started. So, yeah, right now at this point in time, the Democratic Party uh, is the party of choice for African American legislators in the state house and the state senate in the state of Georgia.
So that segues into the next part of what I wanted to talk to you about. Rodney and I are really proud of the fact that you ran for statewide office. I
Yes.
know that's not an easy thing to do. What prompted you to run for labor commissioner and leave your district, which bro, you'd have been there a while. You'd have been there, like Roger, you know.
Yeah.
But you decided to step out on faith and go after a bigger seat on a ticket that was multicultural, multi-ethnic, but clearly we're going up against what we just talked about.
Absolutely. So it was, I guess that question is kind of twofold. One, I felt like when I made the decision, I think it was back in February or March of 2021 to run for labor commissioner, run statewide. I felt I had done everything I needed to do at the State House. I was one of the key supporters and drafters of Georgia's hate crime bill. And I worked with Representative Roger Bruce in the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus and Representative Carl Gilliard, who was the chair of the caucus at the time, the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus out of Savannah, and Representative Karen Bennett, and others to be able to get that legislation passed. And I think that was in 2020. And in 2021, I had the opportunity to be a lead co-signer and author of the Citizens Arrest repeal legislation, which was a direct response to the
right.
Boddie murder.
Yes.
That we saw take place back in, I think that was February of 2020, back in Glenn County, Georgia. And so I just felt like I had passed all these great pieces of legislation. I fought against bad legislation, including the Confederate Monuments Bill, the various forms and renditions of voter suppression bills that were presented and passed in the Georgia House and Senate. Anything that hurt citizens, I fought against it. So when the time came to make the decision, I saw what the current labor commissioner was not doing during a global pandemic, and not making sure Georgia citizens who lost their job to no fault at all could be able to get financial relief from the state by getting them their unemployment checks in a timely manner. And I said, if these Georgia Department labor offices across the state are closed, they're not serving the citizens of the state. You have my constituents and my colleagues' constituents and citizens of the state that are losing their homes, their apartments, their cars, because we're in a global pandemic, and we have a mechanism to help citizens to get over these rough patches that we're going through as a country, as a world citizen right now. But this labor commissioner refuses to do his job. And I just could not sit on the sideline anymore. And I said, I'm running for labor commissioner because I know I could do a much better job. And I saw how, at the time, labor commissioner Michael Thurman reacted.
Yep, I remember him.
Made sure back during not the pandemic, but the recession back in 2007, 2008. Yeah, he made sure that the citizens of the state, as the Democratic labor commissioner, get their unemployment benefits in a timely manner, so they did not have to have added stress of not being able to have the financial resources to take care of themselves and their families. So I just said, Rodney, I can't sit on the sideline. And I know, I was in leadership. I was Democratic whip, and
my rep.
And Rodney was also my post holder as well.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people's like, Boddie, if we flip the house, you might be on that track to be a speaker. But I was like, I need to, I got to do this. And so I'm glad I did it because I got a chance to meet a lot of great people across this state.
Good.
Build a lot of great relationships. In Southwest Georgia, North Georgia, Coastal Georgia, South Georgia, where I went to college. Of course, the Metro. But it was just really good to get out there and just hear from citizens across the state on what they wanted, the vision that they have for themselves and their family and our state. And so I still have a lot of amazing relationships that I can pick up the phone right now today and call someone, a friend down in Waycross, Georgia, or I could call a friend up in Rome, or call a friend down in Rennes or over in Rennes, Georgia, Warner Robins. I mean, anywhere, Hey Howard, Georgia, you name it. So it's just an amazing experience, life experience that I had, and I'm very appreciative of the voters voting me to be the Democratic nominee.
Top voter.
Me too.
on the
Yeah.
Democratic line statewide. There you're right. I thought he was coming on to give us a scoop or something that was coming up in his future. I don't know, man. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
I won't
Yeah.
press him
We'll
on
come
that.
back to that one. I
Well,
can
you know
come back
what? Yeah, and Rodney, and that's what I was going to say. When you brought me in, for my in my questions or whatever, is that I was going to let Attorney Boddie know that look, I'm going to let Rodney save it for what you got coming up. Is there any announcements you want to make on the Black Man's Roundtable? No, we know it's kind of soon. We know it's kind of soon for that, but we'll bring you back for something like that in the future, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Just
But
give us a shot.
but I would say, when I got to know and started following Representative Boddie at the time, was the Ahmaud Arbery. That was something very near and dear to my heart, and to and to watch this brother have the passion that it caught my attention that I saw him have in getting legislation passed on behalf of the Arbery family. I said, hey, I'm going to always hopefully always be in his brother's corner, and and watch his progression and what he do in in politics, and and I was there watching and paying attention to the to the statewide race as far as labor commission. If I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would have bet that this brother was going to win, but hey, sometimes we have to go and fine tune, and I know that is what Attorney Boddie has been doing with his craft, is fine tuning. And so I'm not going to say anything other than my guess would be the state of Georgia is not done with this brother. But with that, Rodney, what I want to do is talk about two areas. I want to talk about a local and a national. Which one first? I think I'll go national first, because because I know the followers of the Black Man's Roundtable really like to listen to the local stuff. So my question, or what I want you to talk about. They're going to be related, Attorney Boddie, and they're going to be. My first one is about the Democratic Party on a national level. I want to know your thoughts about where you think the Democratic Party is going nationally, in particular when we talk about some of the young, vibrant leadership in the Democratic Party. In particular, you have Jasmine Crockett out of Texas. This young sister is really energizing, giving the Democratic Party the energy that I think it needs. And also you have Brother Maxwell Frost, my frat brother, down in Florida, who is doing his thing. And Rep Boddie, Attorney Boddie, you're not that old yourself, so you're kind of in that company, and I just want you to talk about where you think the national party is going, and in particular, especially with these young, vibrant Democrats who are out there doing all the things that you suggested, which is being everywhere.
But no, and Rodney, you brought up a great point, and all the people you just named are amazing members of Congress. And I would say, because I'm a DNC member for the state of Georgia and part of Georgia delegation, recently we had our winter conference about two weekends ago, and we elected new leadership.
Yes.
And that leadership is young. Our new chair, who I supported, and most of the members of the Georgia delegation, Ken Martin out of Minnesota, is young. He's not very old. I think Ken may be early 50s, but he has just an amazing energy level to want to oppose the MAGA administration. And he's already hit the ground running with filing friends of the court briefs that actually he did in a case here in the state of Georgia against the Georgia Board of Elections, and some of the litigation that's surrounding some of the rules they were trying to make right before the election last year. But also we have about 2 or 3 millennials on that particular exec board for the DNC. But that's the DNC, which deals with, fighting and just messaging, which I think is going to get a lot more, I would say, intense.
Mm-hmm.
And already our new chair, and members of our executive board have already started to go on podcasts like this and others. They're speaking out via social media, email blasts, going on traditional news and non-traditional news sites, and that's what it's going to take. We have to have as a party, we got to stay true to our ideologies and our values, and we definitely need some of our senior leaders to guide us and get us to the next level as far as being that bridge. But we see and we've heard from younger voters that they want that fresh energy. They want that fight. They want to see it, and they want to hear it. And as you said, they want you to be everywhere at all places at all time, and just engulfing this MAGA administration with just a counterattack. I think the days of traditional, I would say, politics as far as being in a legislative branch, either on the local, state, or federal level, it used to be both right as you just go in there, you press a button, yes or no. That's over with. You just can't be a representative of your community, of your state, of your district, of your county, of your city, and just think I can go in and just vote yes or no on policy. No, you got to do a lot more than that. Because as a representative in elected office, you are a servant leader.
Yes.
So during the pandemic, I had to do a lot more than the job description that I read for. And one of those things was bringing together and creating, being the co-founder of the Coalition of South Metro Elected Officials to help us get through a global pandemic. When our community, and Rodney knows this, Brother Littles, in Southwest Atlanta and South Fulton was not getting the PPE that we were supposed to get. We were not getting the food pantries coming to our communities to pass our food to residents that needed it. We did not have a lot of federal and state assistance. We went out and found it. We did not have the early voting precincts in our district. We went out and advocated for it.
Got mobile vans.
Mobile vans. We were able to get the GICC as a early
voting location. It's excellent. Yeah.
So that's not a part of why you run for being state representative, but that's what the job demanded at that time.
Right.
And the job right now demands that elected officials be everywhere, oppose bad policies, because we cannot have MAGA ruling this country as it being some type of kingdom. This is a democracy, and right now Trump and also the co-president, Elon Musk, is trying to take a blowtorch to democracy. And we cannot sit on the sidelines and say nothing. So I applaud representatives like you named earlier, members of Congress, county commissioners, state representatives.
Governors, secretaries of state, Democratic secretaries of state.
I heard Governor Westmore out of Maryland. I mean, just tremendous speech that he gave during the DNC. But this is what has to be done, because right now, everyone is afraid of the unknown, right? I would say this. We have been here before. We are accustomed to fighting as far as African Americans are concerned. We have a history of it. And we have a history of standing up for what's right. The reason why we have a lot of rights in this country and a lot of minorities across the racial spectrum enjoys that, and across gender as well enjoys it, is because African Americans during the civil rights movement stood up.
That's right.
And we took a lot of physical punishment, a lot of emotional punishment, a lot of sacrifice, but we were able to get voting rights. We were able to get housing rights. We were able to get social economic rights. we were able to get the things that brought us to where we are today, that our ancestors that fought for that did not get an opportunity to even see and be able to experience some of the pleasures that we have been able to experience as citizens of this country. And so now it's our time to pick up the baton, because we're being called into action like our ancestors did, doing Reconstruction, doing Jim Crow, doing the Civil Rights Movement.
During
If we don't
crack.
yes, exactly. If we don't pick up that baton, pick up that torch to represent and fight on behalf of our community, on behalf of our country, we have basically let our ancestors down.
And you know what? They are looking for us right now to pick up that torch. And I'm just so glad. I think that, the Democratic Party right now it appears to be that the Democratic Party at the national level, at the state level, and even local levels are starting to, how can I say, take the reins off of these energetic speakers, energetic, members, that's in the Democratic Party, and let them do their thing. Let them do their thing. Stop being afraid. Stop being on defense. Like we talked about, in the opening segment, when we talked about the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? The Philadelphia Eagles from Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, okay? They played offense the whole time. They never let the foot off of Kansas City's neck. And so, I think that game was hopefully almost emblematic of what may continue to happen in this country going forward. You got Kansas City, a city out of the state of Missouri, who Donald Trump and others catered to and wanted to win. I didn't really have a dog in the game because my Falcons are sitting at home. So, but that being said, you know what I'm saying. But that being said, Philadelphia, a city, very progressive city that's known for what it's known for, and I hope that the political parties can kind of learn from that, but they did not let their feet off the pedal, and they ran away with that game. And so I'm just glad that that the Democratic Party seems to be allowing some of these younger leaders, young and younger leaders, to to step up and do what they need to do. And Rep. Boddie, I hope that if you ever get back in the game, I hope that bodes well for people like yourself, and I'm not saying somebody had, any kind of reins on you or anything at the state level, anything like that. But I think that as we, I've seen you in action, Rodney's seen you in action. And I think that as the Democratic Party let loose and let their leaders like yourself, who you became in leadership very, very young, and you stepped out on faith, and you ran for state, back those guys. I'm not going to go into, a whole civics 101 lesson, because we glad that you kind of did that for us tonight. Because we always trying to teach civics on every Black Man's Roundtable platform that we have. And so you did a great job in that. But my second part, again, it's related, but now we're going to go to the state level. What is there? Georgia is like, 14 or so seats? I'm not sure, away from, the minority party, the Democrats,
On the House side?
On the House side, yeah.
11?
11 or something like, okay. 11, okay. So you got 11. So my question to you, Rep. Boddie, is how do you see the House of Representatives in particular? I'm not going to ask you about the entire, the Senate and everything, but the House of Representatives in particular in the state of Georgia. How do you see the future based on every kind of thing that we talked about tonight? Your personal experiences that you've had, your professional experiences, your political experiences, your legislative, your experiences as attorney, just everything that you have been through or have gone through and worked through. How do you see the Georgia House of Representatives, let's say over the next 2 to 4 years, as far as Democrats are concerned?
I think we could pick up seats. I think that right now we have in the House, we have a great balance of senior leadership that has been there, that knows the ins and outs of gold dome politics and know how to maneuver. But then you have younger leaders that are also right in the mix in leadership, working with those more senior leaders, seasoned leaders, and just really building a great opposition plan to oppose some of the bad legislation that we see, but also to fight for and to amplify good legislation that's actually going to help the citizens of this state here in Georgia. So I really love the mixture that we have in the Georgia House Democratic Caucus right now, and it's working very well, and I see them messaging very well. And I would say this: I think 2026 is going to be just an amazing year for us. I feel like it's going to be a bounce back. It's the midterms, and so it's going to be an indictment on
And
Trump.
statewide.
Exactly, statewide.
Yep,
We're going to have
statewide.
a gubernatorial race, and we're going to have a U.S. Senate race where we're trying to reelect Senator Ossoff back to U.S. Senate, but also we're trying to get a Democrat in the House, not in the House, but in the governor's mansion, and we're trying to flip or get close to flipping the Georgia
The
House of
House.
Representatives. So right now we're at 80, and so I think we could probably, if we have a good night in November 2026, pick up 5. If we get 45 seats, we get close to that 85 Democratic member range, the better. And the closer you get to 91, of course, 91 being the majority, it gets even better. Because I say that because at some point in time, the more numbers we pick up, the closer we get to what my Dean Cameron Smyre says, co-government, where you gotta, where the Republicans gotta say, well, they got 85 Democrats. I know we're gonna have members of the Freedom Caucus that don't want to line up on this particular issue, and we got 10 members in the Freedom Caucus that may go another way. So we're gonna have to reach out to Democrats, just like in the U.S. House, to get anything passed. Because when I was there, we had 75 Democrats, and the Freedom Caucus was a lot bigger. It probably was about 12, 15 members of the Freedom Caucus. And they were so conservative on certain issues that they did not want to go with the rank and file GOP Republican caucus. And they would either sit out, or Democrats could pick them off and get them to vote no on a bill just because they wanted to oppose the leadership in the Georgia House, the Republican leadership. So that's the type of mindset you have to have. Say, okay, my opposition is sometimes going to be in a position to benefit me and benefit our cause. And you have to be able to utilize and be politically savvy enough to know when and where to tap into that. And so I think we're going to be in a good place, picking up 4 or 5 seats in 26. We want to get to 91 by 2030 so we can be in charge of the reapportionment process.
That's right.
Because if we have a speaker's gavel, we have the opportunity to draw the lines. If we don't have speaker's gavel and we're not in the majority, the Republicans are going to try to draw us back into a weaker minority and less seats in the House. I mean, you could go from 80 seats to back to where it was when I started, 63 Democratic members of the Georgia House. So these next 2 cycles for us in 26 and 28, 28, of course, when Senator Warnock is up for re-election, and also the White House is up as well. We have to elect a new president. It's going to be very important for us. And I think Democrats in our party being able to message and fight and to have a clear message that states that we're for working families and we're for the citizen, the worker that goes to work every day to try to provide for their families. We're about kitchen table issues and solving those issues. higher wages, lower groceries, lower gas, wealth building, better education, better housing, better access to affordable health care, better opportunities, a better quality of life. If we're able to message and focus in on those kitchen table issues, the Republican Party cannot beat us. They will not beat us because right now, within these less than 20 days, again, Trump and Elon Musk are trying to take a blowtorch to democracy. And the only thing we have right now is our Democratic Party and the courts that are being able to put roadblocks in front of the conquest that Trump and MAGA Republicans want to do, which is tear down democracy as we know it, and I have always known it, and to have a government that doesn't look like the government that our founding fathers in this country wanted, i.e., 3 independent branches of government. That's just constitutional law. That's just how this country was founded. It was not to have a authoritative figure in the White House ruling over citizens of this country like they're his subjects and Elon Musk's subjects. That's not what this country was created to be. It was democracy for the people, by the people, and for the benefit of the people.
Thank you for that, sir. Before we turn it back over to Rodney. Yes, sir. Before we turn it back over to Rodney, I want to say that, I know you talked about, 5 or 6, maybe even seats flipping, in this upcoming midterms, if things kind of, continue to go the way that they're going. Well, I would say this, Rodney, we renamed, like I said, the first part of our segment with Bobby, from Politics Corner, we renamed to the Find Out, phase, from the, now famous F around and find out. And so, like I said, right, on November the 5th, a lot of people effed around and now we're finding out. And so I want to just say to Rep. Boddie is that I definitely think he's onto something because, people, and Rodney, we did a Project 2025 segment every single week. We did Agenda 47 every single week, trying to let the people know what's going on. But I don't think people was woke. I don't think they was really listening, But now, like I said, we are in the find out phase. And so what is happening, okay, is I followed some of these special elections that has happened so far just since the past elections back in November the 5th, and since Donald Trump got elected. And let me tell you something, they are flipping 14, 15 points flips. Where the Republicans, Donald Trump just won that area. And boom, now you had a special election that has happened and it's flipping already. So I say that Rep. Boddie is definitely onto something when I say that, we are in the find out phase. And over the next few years, the more they keep on implementing, Project 2025, people, maybe were not listening like they should have been to Rodney Littles, to Rodney Butler, to Rep. Boddie, over the last 18 months or so about, Project 2025, but we are finding out, and I think it's gonna bode well for, no pun intended, I think it's gonna bode well for like Reverend Boddie said. So I appreciate the answer. Thank you for that, sir. Go ahead.
Now, brother Butler, I want to add to this, and I think what's happening now is, especially with our federal workers and our federal workforce just being diminished before our eyes, and
Yes.
it is an attack on federal workers. And think about how many federal workers we have in this country, but think about how many of your neighbors, your friends, your families, your church members, your fraternity members.
It's the largest employer in the country.
Exactly. So what I warn all of my friends, I think we can win the next election, right? But the one thing we have to fight for is access to the ballot box. Because if we still have our right to vote and that vote is not impeded, we can win any election. But right now, state of Georgia, I'm already hearing the Georgia General Assembly, the Republicans are going to try to pass another voter integrity bill. Like, why? You guys won. Did you not win the last election? Nobody cried. Democrats didn't cry. Oh, you guys cheated. No, we took the loss. We're learning for the loss, and we're building to beat you in 26 and 28. But what they're saying is that, oh, it might have been some non-citizen vote. Where? Where's the evidence of it? No, you just want to impede our rights to vote because you know what's coming in 26 and 28. You know people are going to be motivated because they lost their job, they lost their houses, they lost family members, they are losing the quality of life that they have been accustomed to, and they're going to be angry at the ballot, and they're going to vote against you, MAGA, and they're going to vote your representatives and your elected officials that Donald Trump and Elon Musk helped get into office in 2024 out of office. And you're right, Brother Butler. We flipped a seat in Iowa, a state legislative seat in Iowa.
That's right.
Think about that. The last time Democrats won in Iowa was when Obama was on the ballot in 2028.
That's right.
No, 2008.
2008, yeah.
Yeah, so think about that. Just think about it. So we're going to have an electorate that's going to be motivated, but we as Democrats have to make sure that we protect our rights to vote so we have access to the ballot box, and we message very clearly to let working families know that we're there to protect them, to build big coalitions like we did in 2020 with labor, organized labor, with workers who are not part of the labor movement, with grassroots organizers, with elected officials from your city council members up to your members of Congress, to business owners, to small business leaders. We have to build those coalitions and all the nonprofit and also say voter outreach organizations as well. So if we build those coalitions and we message to those coalitions and we let everyone know, look, the Democratic Party can't be the be-all to everyone, but we're the best for everybody, and we care about people, and we're going to listen to your issues, and we're going to take them into consideration, and we're going to fight for you, unlike the other party has shown you these last 2 years.
Again, Rep. Boddie, thank you for that answer. And before Rodney close out your segment, I would just like to say that I'm looking forward to people like you, brothers like you, people, in the community like yourself to never allow for the Democrats, the Democratic Party, and the Democratic constituents to get as uninformed as they were. It should not have to take losing jobs and being threatened, and the guy is coming after the military next. He's coming after and so we, these platforms and others, we cannot, and I know you're going to be out there, we cannot allow for the Democratic Party to get as uninformed as the Democratic Party gotten. And I think that is because people did not meet Democrats where they were, elected Democrats, that is, did not meet Democrats where they were over the past decade or more, right? Especially even since, probably longer than that, since Barack Obama got in there. And we just need to go back to that, be everywhere, be on top of everything. I'm looking forward to having you back on here and seeing you other places, Rep. Boddie, and and so I'm just ready to get to Rodney to close this out to see what this brother may have coming up. Who knows? I don't know what Rodney going to end this with, but anyway, appreciate you, Rep. Boddie. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much, Bill, for being with us today. Is there any message you'd like to leave with the audience, and any way that you would like them to reach out to you?
Yes. So I would say I want to leave with the audience is always be of service and let service be your North Star. Let it be your guiding light. Because one of my dear friends, Attorney Miley Davis, who's a very well-known civil rights attorney, dear friend, Kappa fraternity brother, he told me something that I always remember when he started building his law firm, and I did the same with my law firm. And when I ran for public office, he said, always take care of your community, because in turn, your community will always take care of you. I think if we as servant leaders, because both of you brothers are, and I know your listeners are as well, if we go out and just selflessly serve our community, our state, our country, we'll give it back. We'll get it back tenfold. And I know Dr. Martin Luther King, that's one of the things he always talked about, is service and service to others. So I just want to leave your audience by stating that, as in the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., be of service to others in all that you could do, and give of yourself, because you will get it back tenfold. But never expect anything in return.
Well said. I appreciate it, my brother. Godspeed and much success to you in the future, my brother.
Thank you all for having me. Thank you, Brother Butler. Thank you, Brother Littles. This is amazing. I'm looking forward to doing it again already.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
We look forward to having you back on.
Trust
Absolutely.
me.
Take care of yourself.
God bless.
God bless.
All right. Yeah, I tell you, he laid it out. He laid it out, put a lot of information out there. And Rodney, I think your conversation, like I said, I don't even like to say questions, because like I said, I love the way you have a conversation with our special guests when you have them on. Your conversation with him was on point as far as what we know, that our listeners want to hear.
Right.
Went a little over time, but I think you wanted to talk about a spotlight. I think we got a little time. I think we can,
Well, yeah, we have to.
Yeah,
Well,
let's squeeze it in if we can.
let's squeeze it in. Okay. Here's the deal, my brother. DEI.
Yes, sir.
We are supporting, meaning myself, a lot of my friends are supporting the Wednesday blackout move. Every Wednesday, we don't spend any money other than with black businesses, period. So if you go into the fast food restaurant and it's not owned by a black woman or a black man, you're not spending your money there on Wednesday. We are looking to spend our money with our folks to circulate it in our community every Wednesday. Blacking out Target, blacking out Walmart, blacking out anybody else that's against what they call DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is not racist. It's not anti-social. Matter of fact, as you had pointed out earlier on, it's the civil rights movement and the fight for freedmen that our people went through that DI even exists, and it benefits a whole lot more than people of color. Matter of fact, the tent's so big now, we on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
So DI is not about black progress.
As far as all the minorities, Rodney, not to cut you off, but we black people, now there's all kind of minorities. Everybody in this country is a minority except for a cisgender white man, right? So right. Black people, men and women, actually benefit the least. I think like 8% from DEI. But it seems like we're fighting the hardest. But anyway, Rodney, go ahead.
Exactly. So we need to use the full term. Don't play with the acronyms, the three initials.
You're right.
Spell it out.
Yep.
That's what it is. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what we're talking about is taking the responsibility, honoring our ancestors who got us to this point. And people they don't understand anything else, Brother Butler, but money.
Yep.
The almighty dollar, the Benjamins. So if we don't talk with our wallets, they're not going to hear us.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought it up. And so, I think, I was in, I had to go to Target, but to pick up, but to go to CVS, basically, they have the CVS in Target. Mm-hmm, and so I didn't buy anything in Target, but I, went to the CVS. And this was, I would say maybe 2 to 3 days after this after this boycott of Target, went into effect, man, there was nobody in there.
Really?
So
People are listening? Oh,
look,
praise it.
Rodney, it was maybe 2 or 3 days into the the boycott, and I'm telling you, it was, I don't know if it was the time of the day or whatever, but that Target is always full.
Right.
Even in the middle of the day, but it was, and since then I've kind of glanced over there at the parking lot, and it is not as many cars in the parking lot. I have not been back in the store since then, other than to pick up that prescription, but it felt pretty dismal in there. So we'll see. I think that targeted, no pun intended again, but I think that targeted boycotts work best, because you know what,
Right.
if we can concentrate on a particular store that says, hey, we're not doing the DEI no more, or whatever,
Right.
or we're rolling back our DEI. I don't think we have to necessarily boycott everybody. It sends that message. That message, you know what I'm saying? And like you saying, the only thing they care about is the mighty dollar bill. And so if other retailers look around and say, oh my God, look what's happened to Target, they may wake up. But yeah, it seems like we're fighting the hardest. And I understand that some people say, well, we're benefiting the least from DEI, so why we're fighting so hard? Because you know what, it wouldn't be DEI without us, and I think that's why.
That's right.
So I'm definitely supporting. I'm supporting boycotts. I'm also supporting buy-ins.
That's right.
So
Yep.
I think that we should really, really go local. I've been talking about it, Rodney, since the election. Local. And when I say local, I'm talking about local with our purchasing, and also local in politics. State down.
I got one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure Save Food and Beauty. Sure Save Food and Beauty.
Mm-hmm.
It's an African-American owned grocery and beauty supply store in East Point, 3286 Washington Road, East Point. They just recently opened up a couple of months ago.
Yep.
Sure Save Food Mart. That's what we're doing. Local, black owned.
Yep. Local.
So
black
you
owned.
don't have to go to Target or Walmart to get your groceries.
Just don't.
It ain't but around the corner from the Camp Creek Marketplace. Boom, you're right there. All right? So we have to spend our money with our own community, with our own businesses. We need to educate our children. We need to create jobs for ourselves, and we need to own our own businesses.
And Rodney, another thing I've been talking about since you said schools, you know what I'm about to say? Saturday schools. Saturday
Amen.
school.
Come on, Rodney.
Hey, we need to get back to that stuff. Saturday school. And like I said, I think the Jewish community, I don't think they never got away from it. I believe they still do Saturday school. And so we won't worry so much about what they're teaching our kids in these public schools and all that kind of stuff if we are teaching them on Saturday. So I think there's a lot of things that we need to go back to, and I will continue to talk about those things on these platforms and stuff. And so, but yeah, I'm glad you brought up DEI once again, Rodney. And so, yeah, man, we just gonna, we just got to do what we got to do, brother. But we got to learn how to. There's been no more time that's been this important, probably since the 1940s and 1950s, where we need to really bring our heads together, our resources together, because look, I don't even, like I told you, Rodney, I'm trying to almost do away with the word racism, because they have made that word so neutral and everything and all of that. And they say, well, y'all call everything racism. Well, you know what? Just about everything in America is racism. But you know what? You're right. Because you know what? They're right. Because it's a global issue. And instead of racism, you know what I say now, Rodney? Anti-blackness, anti-black. That is global. And so we need for our people to understand that it is more than just American racism. There is an anti-black. If you look at this apartheid guy in Elon Musk, a South African who grew up in the heart of apartheid, where these people actually think that we are inferior to them. physically, metabolically, or at least in our brain, not necessarily physically. It's like, oh, well, they can jump and run, but they literally believe that we are inferior to them intellectually, and you're bringing that crap over here. And it's being accepted,
ancestors, bro.
You know, I mean, it's literally being accepted. This is what South Africans, the apartheid people in South Africa, this is what they actually believe. And not to say they didn't believe this in America as well, because we can go back and prove that too. But it's how you're opening the doors for that. And so, we have to. We have to come together, man. We really have to. We have to come together because we are under attack, not only in this country, but like I said, there's anti-blackness all over the world. So I appreciate you bringing it back up.
Yes, sir, my brother. Yes, sir. Well, in closing, my brother, you got any closing messages for our folks?
Other than once again, Rodney, a good show. I want to say, man, I don't know, maybe in our fourth show of the second season, but look, I'm just looking forward to a season of a lot of great guests coming on to educate our followers, our listeners, and but again, man, great show. Appreciate it. Let's close it out. Thank you, man.
Until then, catch the Roundup with Rodney and Rodney on the second and fourth Thursdays of each month at 7 p.m. Like and subscribe to the Black Man's Roundtable on Facebook and YouTube, and also on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Until then, we'll keep rounding them up.
Peace, Rodney.
Peace.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you have show ideas or want to be on the show? Shoot us an email at blackmansroundtable@gmail.com. And please follow us on Facebook.